You slept for 8 hours. But when you wake up, your legs feel as if they have just finished a race. They feel heavy, shaky, weak. And every morning, the sensation seems stronger than the day before. The strange thing is, you were not even using your legs while you slept. So why do they feel weaker after an entire night of rest? The answer may not be hidden in the muscles alone. A single step requires an entire chain of systems to work perfectly. The brain sends the command. The spinal cord carries it. The nerves deliver it. The blood supplies fuel. Only then can the muscles contract. If just one link in that chain begins to fail, your legs may be the first place where the warning appears. But here is where many people become confused. Feeling tired is not the same as having true muscle weakness. Fatigue means you do not feel like moving. Muscle weakness means you want to move, but your body cannot produce enough force. You try to stand up, climb a few stairs, or lift your foot, and a movement that once felt automatic suddenly becomes difficult. In this video, we will trace the entire pathway from the brain to the feet, discover why mornings may expose the problem more clearly, and identify the warning signs you should never ignore. If you enjoy uncovering the hidden messages your body sends every day, subscribe to the channel, because the right knowledge at the right moment can change an important decision. The most common reaction is to blame age, poor sleep, or bad circulation. Sometimes the body is simply stiff after lying still for hours. But if your legs are truly becoming weaker, if the problem keeps returning, or if it begins to affect standing, walking, or balance, calling it normal may cause you to overlook something important. Imagine your legs as an electric vehicle. The muscles are the motor. The nerves are the wiring. The blood is the delivery system carrying energy and oxygen. If you are dehydrated, undernourished, poorly rested, or recovering from intense activity, the vehicle may start slowly. In these cases, the feeling is often mild, affects both legs, and improves once the body begins moving. To tell the difference, pay attention to what your legs can actually do. Do they only feel heavy, or are you physically unable to perform movements that used to be easy? Do you need your arms to push yourself out of a chair? Do you drag one foot? Do you trip because your toes do not lift high enough? Do you suddenly need the handrail on a familiar staircase? Changes in function often reveal more than the feeling of weakness itself. Right now, choose one word that best describes your legs in the morning: heavy, shaky, or weak. Type only one word in the comments. These sensations may sound similar, but they can point in very different directions. Morning may not be the cause. It may simply be the moment when the body's first test begins. After hours of lying still, the muscles and joints have not been active. The circulatory system must also adjust as you move from lying down to sitting and then standing. Problems that remain hidden during the day may become obvious during those first few steps. The timing pattern matters. If your legs feel stiff when you first wake up but quickly improve, that tells a different story from weakness that lasts for hours. It is even more concerning when the weakness grows over days, spreads to the arms, or appears with numbness, back pain, fever, unexplained weight loss, or repeated falls. There is no single explanation that fits everyone. To understand why legs become weak, we need to break the system into 5 stations. The first is the brain. The second is the spinal cord. The third is the peripheral nerves. The fourth is the connection between the nerves and the muscles. The fifth is the muscle fiber itself. Think of a string of decorative lights. One damaged section of wire can cause everything beyond it to go dark, even when the bulbs themselves are perfectly fine. When you stand up, the brain sends an electrical command down the spinal cord. That command travels through motor nerves until it reaches the muscle. A chemical signal is then released at the point where the nerve and muscle meet. Inside each muscle fiber, microscopic structures slide past one another like thousands of oars pulling the same boat. When they move together, the knees straighten and the body rises. Sometimes the problem occurs at the connection between the nerve and the muscle. It is like having a loose electrical plug. The signal arrives, but the muscle does not receive it consistently. Certain disorders can interfere with this communication and cause muscles to weaken or tire quickly. In some cases, the eyes, face, chewing, swallowing, or speech may also be affected. This is why weakness limited to the legs in the morning does not automatically point to one specific disease. In other cases, the peripheral nerves themselves may be damaged. Imagine each nerve as an electrical cable covered by insulation. If that protective layer breaks down, information from the feet becomes distorted, and commands from the brain may not reach the muscles properly. This can cause tingling, numbness, burning sensations, poor balance, or weakness, often beginning in the feet and gradually moving upward. The spine is another critical station. The spinal cord acts like a major highway, while the nerve roots are the exits leading to different areas of the legs. If a disc or another structure presses on one of those exits, you may experience pain, numbness, or weakness in a specific group of muscles. If the spinal cord itself is affected, walking, balance, and control of both legs may become more difficult. But sometimes the wiring is working and the motor is the problem. Diseases that directly affect muscle tissue often weaken the muscles closest to the center of the body, especially the thighs, hips, shoulders, and upper arms. When the thigh muscles lose strength, standing from a chair, climbing stairs, or rising from a squat may become unusually difficult. Muscles also depend on the body's internal chemistry. Red blood cells carry oxygen. Hormones regulate energy use. Minerals help electrical signals move. Nutrients repair tissue. If one of these systems becomes unbalanced, the entire muscular system may slow down. Anemia, hormonal disorders, poor nutrition, inflammation, infection, electrolyte changes, and certain medications can all contribute to weakness. There is also another network to consider: the blood vessels. Arteries carry oxygen and fuel to the leg muscles. When these vessels become narrowed, the muscles may not receive enough blood during movement. This often causes aching, cramping, or fatigue while walking that improves with rest. It shows us that symptoms in the legs do not always begin in the muscles themselves. This is when the question, "Why are my legs weak?" becomes an investigation. Is the problem in the control center, the transmission line, the fuel supply, or the motor? And before we move into the most serious possibilities, subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next part, where small physical changes can completely alter the level of urgency. You can help a doctor solve the mystery faster by keeping a simple record. Write down when the weakness began. Note whether it affects one leg or both. Record how long it lasts after waking. Pay attention to numbness, pain, cramps, dizziness, or changes in balance. Think about new medications, recent illness, changes in diet, or reduced activity. A clear pattern is far more useful than simply saying, "My legs feel strange." A medical professional may examine your walking pattern, reflexes, sensation, balance, and the strength of individual muscle groups. Depending on the findings, blood tests, nerve tests, muscle tests, or spinal imaging may be considered. There is no single test that explains every form of leg weakness. Do not suddenly stop medication or begin taking high doses of vitamins or minerals because you suspect a deficiency. Too little and too much can both cause problems. The correct approach depends on the actual cause, and two people with the same symptom may need completely different treatment. Do you feel the weakness in one leg or both? Type only one or both in the comments. Sudden weakness on one side of the body carries a very different level of urgency from mild tiredness in both legs after a poor night of sleep. Now imagine waking up and discovering that one leg suddenly refuses to obey. One side of your face droops. Your speech becomes unclear. This is no longer something to monitor for a few days. Sudden weakness on one side of the body may be a sign of a stroke and requires immediate emergency help. Do not drive yourself and do not wait to see whether it disappears. Another dangerous pattern is weakness or numbness that begins in the feet and rapidly moves upward, especially after a recent infection. In rare cases, the immune system can mistakenly attack the peripheral nerves. The weakness may progress and eventually affect breathing. Rapidly worsening weakness should always be treated as urgent. Difficulty breathing or swallowing together with muscle weakness is a major red flag. The muscles that help us stand belong to the same larger system as the muscles involved in swallowing and breathing. When those functions are affected, The priority is not searching for exercises online. The priority is emergency medical care. Being unable to stand, being unable to walk, experiencing repeated leg buckling, or becoming too weak to perform normal daily activities also requires prompt attention. The body is signaling that an important system is no longer producing enough force. Trying to walk it off may increase the risk of falling without solving the underlying problem. Leg weakness accompanied by severe back pain, numbness around the groin area, or loss of bladder or bowel control is another emergency combination. These symptoms may indicate serious compression of the nerves at the lower end of the spine. Not every warning appears suddenly. Some conditions progress quietly over weeks or months. You may begin tripping more often. Stairs become harder. The muscles look smaller. Numbness spreads. Weakness begins to affect the hands or arms. Gradually worsening muscle weakness is a valid reason to seek medical evaluation instead of continuing to guess. This does not mean every tired leg is a sign of a rare disease. In fact, the long list of possible causes is exactly why you should not diagnose yourself from one symptom. The goal is to notice how severe the change is, what other symptoms appear with it, and how quickly it is progressing, not to choose the most frightening condition from a search result. You can remember the warning levels with 3 colors. Green means the sensation is mild, has a clear link to poor sleep or activity, and quickly returns to normal. Yellow means it keeps returning, lasts longer, or gradually affects your ability to function. That is the time to arrange a medical appointment. Red means sudden weakness, inability to walk, difficulty breathing, difficulty swallowing, or obvious neurological symptoms. That requires urgent help. And here is the most surprising part. A step does not truly begin in the leg. It begins as an invisible intention inside the brain. That intention becomes electricity. Electricity becomes chemistry. Chemistry becomes force. And force moves the entire body forward. What we casually call walking is actually millions of perfectly timed events happening in a fraction of a second. That is why leg weakness is not one specific disease. It is a message from an entire network. The body does not speak in sentences. It speaks through change. A staircase suddenly feels higher. A chair suddenly feels lower. The walk to the door suddenly feels longer. These small changes may be the system's way of asking for attention. And here is the paradox. Morning may not be making your legs weaker. Morning may simply remove every distraction and place your body in front of its first physical test of the day. The moment you stand, the entire movement chain must activate at once. Any weak link becomes much harder to hide. Knowledge is not meant to make us fear our bodies. It helps us listen more accurately. If you want to keep uncovering the hidden mechanisms that shape the way we live every day, subscribe to the channel and join us in the next investigation. Weak legs in the morning may be temporary. But when the problem repeats, worsens, or appears with warning signs, the body is asking you to stop guessing and start investigating. So what happens when the problem is not the muscle, but a trapped nerve slowly causing the foot to stop obeying? The answer is waiting in the next video on your screen.